Hello again, brewers. So today I'm going to be talking about some new hops that I'm putting into this beer, which you can just see coming up to the boil now. It's going to be using some Orbit hops. So these are a blend of New Zealand hops. They're quite new. There's not a lot of information about them out there at the moment. I got given these as a sample by Dean, who sells on eBay, who has some really good stock on there, including these Orbit hops, so well worth a look. I'll put a link onto his eBay pages in the description. So yeah, not a lot of information on these, and they're a blend which changes year on year, so it's difficult to sort of pin down exactly what they're going to be like. Here's the description off of the New Zealand hops website. So as you can see, not too definitive. That brew is just boiling away nicely now, so I'm just going to switch off the second element there. It doesn't really need that anymore. So yeah, looking at these hops again, 9.8% AA. So I'm going to be using them as a single hop in this brew. It will be plenty there for doing the bittering addition, as well as the aroma and flavour hops towards the end. Here's the recipe that I'm going to be using. So it's fairly straightforward pale ale recipe. Just want to keep it quite simple to showcase the hops. It's fairly simple grain bill, just some pale malt, Munich, and a little bit of caramel in there. So basically a pretty standard sort of pale ale recipe, medium strength, not too much colour in there, and bittered to about 35 IBUs, which is giving you a bitterness ratio of about 0.8, which is a good target, I think, for this sort of style of beer to go for. So looking at the hops again, obviously nothing remarkable about them. They're pellet hops, so they all look the same anyway. Would expect them to be quite tropical and fruity in terms of aroma and stuff. Opening the bag up, actually they're probably a bit more earthy, sort of pine resin kind of herbal character to it. Not so much the fruit. There's a little bit of fruitiness in the background, but I would say, to me, they remind me more of something like nugget hops, probably. So that sort of more earthy herbal characteristic coming through in terms of the smell of the hops in the bag. Obviously it remains to be seen what they will be like in the brew, but perhaps not quite as pungent in terms of fruitiness as maybe I would have expected for a blend of New World hops. But they still smell very nice, so should be producing a pretty nice beer either way. So there's the hop additions, about 20 grams going in at 15 minutes left in the boil, and 20 grams for a steep at the end. I'm brewing a slightly smaller batch, so 15 litres in there, so that's about 19 litres pre-boil volume at the moment. Obviously a sort of a test batch, so didn't want to brew a full volume. If it was a 23 litre recipe, that would work out at about an ounce of hops for each addition. I will be doing a dry hop as well, so basically that would have been for the 23 litre recipe, 30 grams at 15, 30 at end of the boil, and 30 for a dry hop, which is a sort of test recipe that I tend to use for doing a pale ale if I'm using a new hop. So that's the hour boil done. Chilled it down to 80 degrees and then added the last hop addition to steep, so I'll leave that in there for sort of 20-30 minutes, and then we'll start draining that out into the or cooling it down first and then draining it out into the FV. So looking good so far. That's starting to smell a little bit more fruity as well, so perhaps there will be a few more sort of fruit flavours coming through with that than it smelt like at first. So here's the yeast that I'm using in this brew. This is a new ingredient to me as well as the hops, so be interesting to see how that comes out. I think it's mainly intended for the sort of California common steam beers and that sort of thing, but should give a nice sort of clean ferment for a pale ale, so hopefully that will work out quite well. According to Mangrove Jacks, it's pretty high attenuation and flocculation, so yeah, that will hopefully give us a nice dry clear beer at the end of fermentation. We'll see how it goes. So there's the rehydrated Mangrove Jacks California lager yeast ready to go in. I'm going to pitch that into the beer now. I'm going to ferment this at the low end of the range suggested on the packet, so 18 degrees, hopefully to give a cleaner finish. So that's all snuggled up in the brew fridge now, ready to go. I will report back on this one when it's finished and we can do a little taster to see what the Orbit hops come out like and how that California lager yeast performs as well. Okay, so speak to you soon.